Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're delving into the chilling story of a woman who predates Jack the Ripper but was arguably far more prolific and terrifying. Her name was Marion Cotton, and she is widely considered to be Britain's first, and perhaps most ruthless, female serial killer. Her method was subtle, her motives were greedy, and her victims were those who trusted her most, her own family. Marion was born in October 1832 in a small village in County Durham, England. Her early life was unremarkable, though marked by the harsh realities of the 19th century working class. Her father, a coal miner, fell to his death in a mining accident when she was just a child. Her mother soon remarried, and Marion reportedly didn't get along with her new stepfather. At 16, she left home to work as a nurse for a wealthy family. It was here she learned about household duties, child care, and perhaps the quiet, untraceable power of arsenic. In 1852, at the age of 20, Marion married her first husband, a colliery laborer named William Mowbray. They moved around, and Marion gave birth to several children. This is where the sinister pattern begins. Out of the 9 children she had with Mowbray, only one, Isabella, survived past infancy. The others all died from what was officially recorded as gastric fever, a common catch-all diagnosis at the time for stomach ailments. Coincidentally, these deaths often occurred shortly after Marion had taken out life insurance policies on her children. After a few years, her husband William also succumbed to a sudden intestinal disorder. Marion collected the insurance money on him and their deceased children and moved on. Her next chapter began with a man named George Ward, whom she nursed through a long illness. They married, but George's health, which had been improving, took a sudden turn. He died, leaving Mary Ann with yet another insurance payout. By this point, you'd think someone would be getting suspicious, but in an era of high mortality rates and poor medical knowledge, her string of bad luck went unnoticed. Next came James Robinson, a widower with several children of his own. Marion moved in as his housekeeper, and shortly after, his infant child died. Marion then became pregnant, and they married. Once she was his wife, her own mother, who had come to visit, fell ill and died. Then 2 of James's other children, along with Mary Ann's own surviving daughter from her first marriage, Isabella, also died from the familiar gastric fever. James Robinson was the first to become truly suspicious. He noticed Marion was constantly asking for money and had run up significant debts. He also discovered she'd been forcing his remaining children to pawn household items for her. Most alarmingly, he found out she had taken out life insurance policies on his children. He threw her out, and miraculously, he and his remaining children survived. Now homeless and destitute, Mary Ann's story took an even darker turn. She bigamously married another man, Frederick Cotton. The name Cotton is the one that would stick with her in history. Soon after their marriage, Frederick's sister, a friend of Mary Ann's, and Frederick's 2 sons all died. Then Frederick himself passed away. The pattern was grotesquely familiar. A brief illness, stomach pains, and a convenient life insurance policy waiting to be collected. During her marriage to Cotton, Marion had also taken a lover, Joseph Nattrass. After Frederick's death, Nattrass moved in with her. It wasn't long before he fell ill and died, followed by the last of the Cotton children, a young boy named Charles Edward Cotton. It was the death of little Charles that would finally be her undoing. Marion went to a local parish official, Thomas Riley, to arrange for the boy's burial. Riley, who also worked as a part-time coroner's assistant, was taken aback by her casual demeanor. When she mentioned the boy was insured and that she could have him buried sooner if she had the death certificate, his suspicions were piqued. He'd seen enough death to know that her behavior was not that of a grieving mother. Riley recalled that many people connected to Marion had died of stomach fevers. He persuaded the doctor, who was reluctant at first, to delay writing the death certificate until a proper investigation could be conducted. He also discovered that Marion had recently purchased arsenic from a local chemist, claiming it was for bugs. The investigation began. Charles Edward Cotton's body was exhumed and samples were sent for analysis. The test results were damning. They revealed the presence of arsenic. The authorities then began to exhume other bodies. including Joseph Natras and 2 of the other Cotton children. Each one tested positive for arsenic poisoning. The trial of Marion Cotton in March 1873 was a national sensation. The prosecution laid out the staggering timeline of deaths that followed her wherever she went. They detailed how arsenic, when administered in small doses, mimics the symptoms of dysentery or gastric fever, making it the perfect undetectable poison of the era. The motive, they argued, was simple, cold-blooded greed. She married men, insured them and their children, and then systematically eliminated them to collect the payouts. Mary Ann, who was pregnant during her trial, maintained her innocence throughout. She claimed the arsenic had come from a green floral wallpaper in the family's bedroom, a plausible-sounding but ultimately disproven defense. The jury was not convinced. After deliberating for just 90 minutes, they found her guilty of the murder of Charles Edward Cotton. On March 24, 1873, Marion Cotton was hanged at Durham County Gaol. The execution itself was horrifically botched, and it said she did not die instantly. It was a grim end to a grim life. In total, it's believed Marion Cotton was responsible for the deaths of up to 21 people, including 3 of her husbands, a lover, her own mother, a friend, and a dozen of her children and stepchildren. She killed not out of passion or rage, but for profit. She used the trust placed in her as a wife, mother, and nurse as a weapon, turning homes into tombs and her family into a source of income. Her story is a haunting reminder of the darkness that can hide in plain sight. In an age before forensic science, she was able to exploit the system, using society's ignorance as a cloak for her horrific crimes. The woman who became known as the Dark Angel left a legacy of tragedy and betrayal that still chills us to the bone today. Thank you for joining me for this deep dive into one of history's most infamous cases. If you found this story fascinating, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. Let me know in the comments what other historical cases you'd like to see covered. Until next time, stay curious.